Welcome everybody. Today's episode on Never Rest Farm, we're going to be covering the maintenance on the front differential, rear differential, gearbox, and an oil change on a Am HD7. This is a 2023 model. It has about 750 miles on it at 80 hours. It's had the initial oil change done, but the front and rear diffs have not been completed. We're going to do that today. And we're going to cover the differences between the HD7 and HD9 and 10. They share a front differential and the service procedure is exactly the same, but the rear gearbox and final drive on the HD7 is different. They're a separate unit, whereas they're a single unit on the HD9 and the HD10. So I know you came into this video to see how it's done, so let's get to that and we can catch up with the banter at the end of the video. All right, we're under the vehicle and we are looking out of the rear end. So if you're directly under the motor, you'll see in this skid plate, this hole here is kind of oblong. You're going to find your oil drain plug under that. And then directly behind it, you're going to see another hole here. There's going to be a 13mm drain plug, and that's where you're going to drain your transmission. And according to the book, only about a half a liter is going to come out of here. That's good. This is nice and hot. And if you look, there's a little bit of metal on the magnet, and that's to be expected from a brand new vehicle. And we're going to let this drain. And while it's draining, I'm going to run to the auto parts store and get a replacement copper washer. All right, as you can see, there are some small little bits of metal here. I'm sure that's normal for a brand new machine break-in. So we're going to clean all this off with some brake cleaner, and we're going to replace the copper washer and reinstall the drain plug. So when you replace the copper washer on the gearbox drain plug, I had difficulty finding one. Obviously you could go to the dealer and get a replacement. The dealer's hour round trip from me. So I tried to find one at a local parts store. Napa didn't have it. O'Reilly's nor AutoZone had what I was looking for. It didn't have an exact fit. I went to a local hardware store. They also didn't have a copper washer that would fit. Just so happens that Harbor Freight sells a kit, and if you look in the kit, it says a 5/8. Now that's OD. Your ID, the interior diameter, needs to be 12mm, but the 5/8 washer is an exact duplicate of the one that comes off of this machine. So for $6.99, get you a little kit of these copper washers, and it'll have several of the one that you need, the 5/8, in that kit. Now, what I like to do is I'll take some brake clean, soak a paper towel, and stick it up in there and wipe out the flat surface around where this washer is going to be sitting. And it may take you a minute to do it by feel. Then take your 13mm extension with your clean new washer, and by hand go ahead and start that plug. Next, you're going to want to remove the rear right wheel. It's going to require a 17mm. This voltage regulator is held on by two 10mm bolts here and here. You're going to remove those and move the voltage regulator out of the way. Now that you've got the voltage regulator out of the way, this is your fuel plug here. We're going to clean that with some brake fluid, brake cleaner, and then remove that fuel plug. So a 15mm with a wobble and about a 10-inch extension should allow you to get in there and twist that off. I do believe that was only finger tight. Nice work, Kenny. Oh, this fuel plug's plastic. Interesting. Product we're going to be using today is Amsoil 75W140 for the gearbox, and we're going to be using 7590 for the front and rear diffs on the HD7. On the HD9 and HD10, 75-140 is required for the transmission and the rear diff, but that's all one unit. 7590 is required for the front diff, which is the same on both HD10 and HD9 models and the HD7. All right, we're using a flexible spout, and we're going to try to sneak the tip in the hole. Oh, sorry for the camera work here. This only takes about half a liter according to the book, so as soon as it starts running out we can disengage. Should be getting close here. We overfilled a bit. Okay, of note, when removing this voltage regulator, this lower control arm bolt is going to be in your way. This mounting bracket flexes a little bit, so feel free to move this bracket back and forth a little bit to try to wiggle this thing in and out, and then we'll go ahead and retighten these 10mm bolts. I'd show myself doing that, but it's very difficult for me to get the camera and myself in here at the same time. Now, while you're in here, it makes it easy to access your grease points. So I'd recommend go ahead and do that while you're in here. It is a tight spot for a regular grease gun. I will drop a link in the description to a 90-degree adapter that'll fit on your regular grease gun and let you drop right in there and grab those. Now, on the HD7 specifically, if you want to service the rear diff, which I highly recommend, if you go underneath the back, you'll see this teardrop shaped hole. Right underneath that hole is where you're going to find the drain plug. Now it looks wet right now because I just sprayed it with brake clean, so we'll keep an eye on that. And then the fill port, it's kind of a pain in the ass to get to, but it is on the right side of the differential. Right there. Now, this takes an 8mm hex head, and I recommend taking off the right tire, just like we had off, to access the fill hole for the gearbox. While you have that off, go ahead and pull this drain plug. Like I said, 8mm hex. And then this drain plug is a 5mm hex head. Drain that fluid. You're going to refill on the HD7. You're going to refill this with the 75 W90. All right. if you have any Can-Am Defenders, all models are going to have the same front differential. And if you're laying on your back looking up at the front end, you'll see in this slot here, that is your drain plug for the front diff. It is a 5mm hex head. And then after you've drained and replaced that, if you'll come around to the passenger side, I recommend taking the wheel off for this. It just gives you a little more room. But your fill plug is right here. You'll see the little gear with the oil symbol above it. That takes an 8mm to pop that little dude off of there. Again, this differential takes the 75 W90. This is the AMSOIL 75 W90. You're going to use this in the front differential on all Defender models, and you're going to use it in the rear differential of the HD7 only. All right, once you're under the machine, you're going to see this first drain plug towards the front. You're going to see the cutout. It's going to look like it had 2 holes drilled, make like a peanut shape. This is going to be your oil drain plug. It's a 17mm. And what I like to do is spray around this area with some brake cleaner first, get the area clean, and then we'll remove the drain plug. Now, watch your little fingies, because this oil's going to be hot. Caliente. And you can probably see that this oil is pretty clear. And I'll tell you the reason I'm changing this again. The front and rear diffs I did before I did the oil change. And I replaced the gear oil with AMSOIL severe gear, and it really quieted down the front differential to the point where I was really impressed by the quality of that oil. And for that reason, after doing the front, rear, and gearbox differential and differential changes, I decided to go ahead and replace the oil in the motor to an AMSOIL product as well. So that's why we're doing this again today. It's not ready, it's not really time yet, but I want this machine to last, and so I'm gonna do all the proper maintenance and get the most I can out of it. All right, we'll let this drip as long as we can, and then we'll replace our drain plug. All right, we're down to just a few little drips. It's always a good idea to replace your washer. And what is that? Oh. Well, that looks like some engine sealant. Some glue coming out of the motor. So, we'll save that if we ever have a warranty issue. All right. Always spray that off after. That way you can check for signs of leakage. All right. We are done on the bottom end. Let's move to the top end. We'll remove the filter, replace it, and refill the motor. Okay, now we're on the top side here. This is your oil filter housing. The top is held on by 3 8mm bolts. Inside is located the filter. Just like on the bottom side, we're going to clean the area with brake clean. Make sure we have a clean work area, and then we'll remove the bolts. Anytime I'm working with aluminum and metal, I feel better using hand tools rather than electric ratchets. You don't risk over tightening or stripping out the aluminum. And here's your lid. I thought that would have just popped right out, but here's the filter. Not too bad. Got a replacement filter from K&N. So they look pretty close here. Height's exactly the same. We'll go ahead and install this and then put our cap back on. Now, normally I'd replace this O-ring, but since this was just changed out, I'm just going to kind of clean everything up a little bit and reuse it. I'll keep an eye on it, just make sure there's no signs of leakage, but I don't anticipate there being any. Tighten all these little screws down by hand, and then tighten them with your socket. And there may be a torque spec on these, I'm not sure what it is. Snug is all you need. It's not going to come flying off of here. And it's not going to empty your engine of oil if some of these come loose. You'll notice a leak first. Just snug is all you need. All right. Now, if you look down in here, all right. Let's clean off around our oil fill cap, which I believe doubles as a dipstick. It does. All right, we'll wipe that with a clean paper towel. And save that for after our fill. All right, this is what we've purchased. This is Am oil, 100% synthetic, 5W40 motor oil. The HD7 takes 2.8 quarts. We got 3 quarts here, and we're gonna go ahead and fill the crankcase. All right, I really love these clear funnels. I'll leave a description or a link in the description below to where you can get your own. All right. Take our dipstick and check our level. Yeah, looks like we are at the max. And that's it for this part. All right. We're letting it run here. Let it warm up. Just take it for a run and see if the engine sounds any quieter. Welcome to the banter section of the video. I wanted to post the information you came here for in the beginning so you can get the job done that you came here to do. I wanted to post this post section just kind of discussing why I chose Can-Am versus other machines, what my thoughts are on the Can-Am product, and so far how the machine has performed for me. So let's start with why I chose Can-Am. I've been a Honda guy my entire life. I still think Hondas are great, but when I purchased the Can-Am, you couldn't get a Honda. Post-COVID, they had supply chain issues that they seemed to never recover from years after COVID even had subsided. You had to get on a waiting list. You may or may not get what you wanted. They had dealers that wouldn't sell you anything unless you bought thousands of dollars worth of accessories that they had slapped on it. And I just wasn't interested in doing that. Even as much as I wanted a Honda, I wasn't going to go down that road. Can-Am, the Can-Am dealer, which is also a Polaris and other manufacturer dealer at the same time, I didn't get any of that flack from them when I purchased this machine. I was really interested in getting one. I researched the Polaris, wasn't for me. I looked at the Kawasaki, the Yamaha, and I settled on the Defender, man. It was very well built machine. The ride quality was excellent, and the reviews were really good. Obviously, people get online and they're only going to tell you the nightmare stories, but the reviews I had for the Defender were really good. So the reason I purchased the HD7 is I wanted value for my money. Can-Am has a marketing strategy of every little piece and part on that machine is a major upcharge. So if you want the upgrades, you're going to pay for them. Take the doors, for example. Just 2 doors for a Can-Am Defender are $5,000 plus. The machine, when I purchased it, was $12,200 total, tax plus tax title license out the door. I thought that was a fair deal for it. It was a little more than I wanted to pay, but when you're in the post-COVID, inflation era, I thought that was a very reasonable price for a new machine. They only come with a 1-year warranty, but I believe that's maybe an industry standard. I don't think the Honda offers you a warranty any longer than that either. But so far, let's talk about the performance of the machine. I have 800 miles on it. I did the initial oil change. I've kept the air filters clean. I check them regularly. I have made a few modifications and upgrades as far as lighting and a winch and maybe a few other minor comfort, details. But other than that, the machine is still stock. Stock tires, stock wheels. I have not intentionally drug it through the mud, but where I hunt, there are some areas that are pretty muddy and hold water, when it's wet. And I drove it through those areas with no problems whatsoever. Didn't even slip a tire, I don't believe, in most cases, where we had 8 to 10 inches of mud and then a couple of inches of water on top of that. I was very impressed with the performance of the machine. As far as the 700cc engine, it puts out plenty of power for everything I need. I may haul 10 or 12 sacks of corn at a time in the bed. It hauls that just fine. It's been up and down very steep inclines. It's, crawled over down trees. Sorry, camera trouble. Anyway, so far, the machine has performed as I've wanted it to. I haven't had any breakdowns or any failures. Again, it's low miles. I think I have 800 miles on it. And I've been happy with it. I'm not crazy about the belt drive. That's one of the negatives. The gear selection process is not very solid all the time. I think sometimes you can put it in park and it's in between gears. Now you can just push on the brake and start the machine and put it in whatever gear you want, but that is a little annoying. Sometimes when you're trying to get off to a slow start and that belt has to catch, that's a little annoying as well. But aside from those minor annoyances, I'm happy with the machine. So those are my opinions on that. If you would like, I can post some more videos about the modifications I've made to mine. I've put a large light bar with factory looking wiring and switches across the front. I got some pods in the back so you can see in reverse and see what's in the bed when you're riding at night. I put in a winch, wired that. Everything's, factory looking. If you would like to see some videos of that, post below. I'll show you the modifications I've made. If you request it, I'll make a quick video on that. But if you'd like, please like and subscribe, where I'm possibly going to be posting some more videos on topics such as this or others. Who knows what we'll be working on at any point in time. Got all kind of stuff to work on, and you may be interested in what I got going on. So yeah, like and subscribe, and we'll see how this channel moves forward. Thanks for stopping by.